From
Yes.
one of your former sides in Crystal Palace. Was it a shock result for you?
Not for me, the way Man United started, and I think you've got to give Palace total credit because Man United would know how Palace are going to set up and they should have come with a better game plan than they had. I think tactically Roy done him. Simply the way they played. I think that you look at Maguire and Lindelof, I mean, you've got to target them two now as much as you can. People are talking about who Man United might buy. You're talking about forwards. At the moment, they've got to start focusing on that centre-half pairing because you get them, any of them two isolated in any situation and you're probably going to get something out of it. I thought that some of Maguire's positioning today was poor and Lindelof just weak. Weak in certain situations. For the first goal, for Wilfried Zaha's second goal, just weak. And Man United just not, I don't know what the fitness, lethargy, whatever it was, but Palace took full advantage of it and absolutely took them to the cleaners.
There is so much for us to look back on across the 90 minutes, particularly in the second half, when, of course, Palace were awarded a penalty. Let's get a former official's verdict on what happened in terms of the actual decision itself. Dermot Gallagher's a former Premier League referee. He joins us now. Dermot, good to see you. So this was when, of course, Jordan Ayew's shot came off Victor Lindelof's hand. First of all, was it handball in your eyes?
I think in view of the new directives, Manish, yes. At the start of the season, the referees went into the grounds and they spoke to the players, they showed the graphics, and this was what was described, that if the arm is outstretched from the body, which it is, if the arm is above the shoulder and it strikes the arm irrespective of whether it's come off the body like it did last week with the Leeds player, it's going to be penalised. I think we saw last week at Liverpool-Leeds, we've seen this one here. He's close, everybody says to me, but the fact is his arm's outstretched, and Manish, I think once they'd set this precedent last week, they have to follow it through, and I think when they looked at it today, Martin Axton's gone across, he's looked at it and decided it's a penalty.
Sorry, not having that. Simply because, I think that you say his arm's outstretched, I think he's actually trying to move his arm. And in respect of that law as well, that ball is not beating David De Gea in respect of going in the goal. So for somebody to look at that and say that's going to be a penalty for whatever reason, it's not stopping that, it's not going in the goal and that arm has stopped it from... That is a weak shot not going anywhere. He's trying to move his hand out. Common sense should prevail for me in that situation, Dermot, because that's not going to be a goal. It's not a good enough shot. He's trying to move his arm. And you could see it, when you see that in normal motion, that he's trying to actually move his arm.
Righty, I get all that. I would never once say that was going in the net. You know, it's such a weak shot that De Gea would gobble it up. That's not the point. A penalty hasn't been given because they think it stopped a goal, because if it had, he'd have then got a red card, which would have been even more unfortunate. I think what's happened now is this movement within the body of referees and FIFA itself to say that if the arm is outstretched from the body, making itself bigger, as I say, if the arm is above the head, above the shoulder, irrespective of how it hits him, it's going to be penalised.
Wow.
It was penalised last week, I say, at Leeds. I actually predicted this, Righty, when if you cast your mind back to last season with the Lewis Dunk incident at Leicester, his arm's outstretched, it's behind him, it strikes his body. And I said at the start of the season, if that happens, don't be surprised if a penalty's given. We saw one last week with Koch at Leeds. It's flown off his knee. He couldn't have been more unfortunate, but his arm's outstretched. Lindelof, as you say, he may say that's his body motion. Again, he's very, very unlucky, but his arm's outstretched. And I'm sure, Righty, you know, whether you like it or like it, you know, I'm with you. I don't particularly like it, but that's how it is. And I think we've got to get used to it, because in the next 36 rounds of matches, I think we're going to see the same thing over and over again.
In the end, though, Dermot, the penalty was given. Jordan Ayew, of course, took it. It had to be retaken because of David De Gea coming off his line. Now, is it 1 foot or both feet have to be on the line as the penalty is taken?
Well, it's got to be on the line or above the line, and as the VAR decided, it wasn't either. Again, this is something that without the VAR, no one would notice. I spoke to my local club, Banbury United, they were on about this, and I said nobody would spot this with a human eye. Once you look at it with VAR, which they do, you actually see this, that it's in front of the line, it's got to be retaken.
Wow.
That's millimetres there, though, isn't it?
It is, but the thing is, Manish, this is going to be a bit like offside. It's either yes or no, there's going to be no tolerance level. So, again, you know, whether you like it or not, we're stuck with it.
Well, Derm, they're going to have to do something about people running up and jumping, because it's unfair on the goalkeepers. it's actually unfair on them now because people can jump and do something, trying to get the goalie to do something.
Move first.
Yeah, and the goalies have to have a foot on the line. It doesn't seem fair for them now.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, and I think the referees will be much more diligent, right, about the feinting, as you call it, you know, whether they're going to do that. But it's just how the game's evolved. You know, when I was a boy, I could never, ever imagined that anybody would have this retaken. You know, you wouldn't be brave enough to say, well, he was on or not. But with the advent of the TV that we've got now, the HD, you can see it, the VR can see it, and FIFA decided that's going to be a retake.
And it doesn't matter if his leg's off, if he scores and his feet are off the line, it doesn't matter.
No.
I can't stand that.
Well, that was a retake and penalty, as we've seen just there, and different penalty taker, as it happens. I mean, it might not have been widely known, but yes, they do have the chance to have a different penalty taker, should they have it retaken, and Wilfried Zaha then, of course, contributed the second goal. Thanks to Dermot Gallagher. We might need him for our final game, because we, of course, have a huge game on the way.